Thank you very much. It's a real pleasure to contribute to this session. I want to give you a quick overview on how new pressures in relation to governing complex emergencies are currently confronting cities and local governments. What we first want to acknowledge is that after 5 years of having defined the global agenda, there is great impatience and recognition that things aren't moving fast enough. And that's a recognition that's shared by the people in the street, whether it's in relation to housing or relation to climate. New urgencies are detectable and often people are asking for emergencies to be declared. In the context of COVID-19, of course, there has been a very widespread reaction where local governments have bought into the need for declaring emergencies following often their federal and national governments. Now, if you look at the attention that is being paid to emergencies in relation to climate, social, and also health emergencies, there is a very recognizable spike in recent years, which reinforces this idea of running out of time and having to act much more radically and more timely. So what we are seeing here is really the redefining of a whole range of grand challenges as often defined in the SDGs as complex emergencies. At this point, I want to briefly position complex emergencies against other routine and non-routine emergencies, which we are all too familiar with. By contrast, complex emergencies, whether they are related to climate change, the current pandemic, or a whole range of social emergencies, are typically defined by their high degree of being political in nature. Complex emergencies are, however, a reality, and there are many municipalities and other governments that have declared, for example, climate emergencies. Close to 1 billion people nowadays live in constituencies that have declared such emergencies. More than 1,800 jurisdictions in 31 countries. But there's very little experience, knowledge and exchange on governing complex emergencies, and particularly at the moment of the response to having declared a state of emergency. It's unclear what local governments and regional governments should really then do and build on, how they can set up the right type of institutional response. On the one hand, of course, we can learn of reacting to non-routine or routine emergencies, command and control centers, but then at the same time we know these complex emergencies are very different in nature. We need to build bridges with civil society and incorporate wider discourse. So what we are doing at the moment is really identifying with local governments and citizens and a whole range of advisors to understand better what are evolving principles for governing complex emergencies that help us structure governance structures but also processes and broader emergency governance domains. I want to just highlight here a few. It's clear that government is in the driving seat for these emergencies. It's also clear that we may need new forms of democratic legitimacy as part of the emergency response. The sixth point of embracing a systems approach, particularly relevant to break down conventional silos, rearrange issues around an effective response. Multi-level governance needs to be reinvented. We can't just rely on the systems that are in place for normal mode governance. And finally, of course, there is no one-size-fits-all approach, and these processes need to be very tailored to specific contexts. Thank you very much.